Thanks for joining us. We hope that you had a wonderful and meaningful Shavuot. Having stood symbolically at Mount Sinai, we are now with Parshah Nasso, headed well into the Midbar, well into the wilderness between Egypt and the Promised Land, Eretz Yisrael. This week's Torah portion is Nasso. It's an interesting title because the beginning of the Parsha has Moses being commanded, Nasso, to lift up. What is he lifting up? He's lifting up the heads of each of the families within the tribe of Levi and giving the Levites their assignments, except, of course, the Kohanim, who have already received their assignments directly from God. But the Parsha also contains the very disturbing laws of the Sotah, the suspected adulteress. It is a section of the Torah which is very, very difficult for moderns to understand. It then goes on to the section of the Nazir, the Nazirite who vows for a certain period of time to not shave his or her head or cut his or her hair or cut their nails or drink any alcoholic beverage after a period of time, in which case after which he or she comes back into the community. And then it winds up with the beginning of the ceremonies for sanctifying and dedicating the tabernacle in the wilderness. Now, this Torah portion is a little bit hard to piece together. You've got the dedication of the tabernacle, the Nazir, the Nazirite vows, the suspected adulteress, and then at the beginning, this business of Nasso, of lifting up. Now, but our rabbis tell us that Nasso, the title of the Parsha itself, is what gives it its meaning. The word Nasa, Nun Sin Aleph, means to lift up, to raise something up, to carry something, to give it strength in many, many ways. In fact, the modern Hebrew word ma'asit is the word for a truck, or as the British would say, a lorry, something that carries something else, something that you put it up on and it carries it at a height somewhere above the road. Nisuin is also the word that we use for the marriage ceremony. The first part of a wedding, a Jewish wedding, is kiddushin, sanctification, but the marriage itself is also called nisuin. Why? Well, some would say it's because the husband picks the bride up and carries her away. We live in an egalitarian age, so maybe the bride is picking the husband up and carrying him away. But I think that the meaning is somewhat more different. The meaning is really the same as the Torah portion, that we are engaged as Jews in a faith and in a tradition and in a community that is supposed to, in fact, lift us up. Not just make us more holy than we are, but a tradition that is supposed to make us feel better about ourselves, make ourselves feel stronger. The Parsha of Sotah, the section about the suspected adulteress, is unfortunately, as I said, does not play well to the modern mind on one hand. On the other hand, the rabbis say that this was such an onerous thing to do that a man would be very reluctant to expose himself and his wife to the humiliation that the service of the Sotah or the procedure of the Sotah would require. And so even by keeping us away from such public recriminations of our loved ones, we are lifted up. We are made to be better than who we are. And then, of course, the Nazir, who dedicates himself or herself, is lifted up by that process, but not so lifted up that they are taken out of the ordinary world of human society at the same time. I think the negative lesson from this Torah portion is that anything we engage in, any religion, Judaism or any other religion, or any involvement that puts us down, that makes us feel littler, belittled, or less than we are, that's not what we Jews are all about. That's what any true religion is all about. Regardless of one's faith, it is not so. It is supposed to pick us up and make us better, help carry us like the truck through life. And so I think as we read this week's Torah portion, our thoughts should be to finding ourselves and our community in a place where Judaism, or whatever faith you practice, is one that picks you up, makes you feel better than you are, not one that puts you down, insults you or anybody else. And so as we approach this week's Torah portion, Nasso, may we all be lifted up communally, personally, and spiritually. Have a great week, and Shabbat Shalom.